Hi folks, Gert Vrij from Aim Small again, and today I'm playing again with the Nova Vista Behemoth, also known as the Air Venturi Bullpup. Yeah, this is the same gun as the last video, but myself and I decided I wasn't happy with the groupings it previously shot, so I decided to make a few changes. So what I did is that right in the bottom here, you'll see there's a flip up cover. Now in here, you put in your Allen key, you degas the chamber, and you turn the reg. Once the reg is set to the pressure you want, remember to also adjust the hammer spring that's in there. Right, so with that combination turned down, I turned the gun down to 135 bar, it was on 180 from the factory, and I was aiming to get my speed at around about 900 feet per second on the 16 grainers. Well, then I took it to the range and my adjustments were slightly off. Okay, but there was a reason for this. Alright, so first and foremost, you'll see me in this video wearing two different shirts, two different locations, because life sometimes throws you a couple of lemons, real hard ones, and I can't have tequila for that because I'm off alcohol at the moment. I'm doing some cycle races, so alcohol is taboo. Otherwise I would have had a bottle. So what happened today at the range, and you'll see in the video itself, no sound, zero sound, it was gone. Yeah. So I only found that out when I got home after shooting a whole day out in the field, having the most awesome stories to tell you guys. Coming home, look at the video, no footage. Right, so purpose of this video, try and get more accuracy out of the gun and also to improve the shot count. So what I did, dropped the regulator down to 135 bar. The shot count improved from 40 shots on a full to 60 shots on a full. So that's a 50% increase for the mathematicians out there. Out of a 180cc cylinder, that's not too shabby. And I shot it down from 250 bar all the way down to 135 bar. 60 decent shots. So that gives you guys an idea of how frugal this regulator is with the air. You'll also see as I go through the different videos, I shot a couple of pellets in this regard, different weights, different manufacturers, different shapes and sizes, just to show you guys that this gun is not pellet fussy at all. There I go my English again, there I go my English, oh my goodness. Alright, it's not pellet fussy at all, and it actually enjoys most pellets at most speeds. The one thing that I got totally wrong is I still had the gun set up too hot. Alright, so it was shooting around about 950, 918 feet per second on the 16 grainers, which is too hot. I wanted that on the 900 mark or below. But without further chit chat, let's go into the first video. And first up, we're shooting the 16 grain Olympias that was supplied with the gun to me. Guys, before you forget, remember, with most regulated guns, I would say 99% of them, that you always have to decast the cylinder first before you turn the regulator down. With this gun it's quite easy, it's a 3mm Allen key at the bottom, gas it quickly, flathead screwdriver, turn it in to reduce the power a little bit. Quite an easy, but please, safety first. Alright, let's go shoot.
Pew 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 pew, look how fast I can shoot, pew pew. Now, let's get serious. I had the camera on time lapse instead of video, so that's why that was so fast. So let me slow it down. These are the Olympics in 16 grain, but look at that awesome standard deviation, only 3.7. So these pellets were running at a very consistent speed, a little bit fast for my liking at 918 feet per second, but I need to just tune the gun down a little bit more. Looking at the results, those were mostly less than 1 inch at 50 meter, exactly what I wanted from the gun, with grouping number 3 at a half an inch at 50 meters, and the pellets are still running too fast. Going to be interesting to see if I slow it down a little bit more, what the gun is going to do. This far, very promising. In defense of my shooting capability, I must add that the wind was gusting at this stage. Then from the left, then from the right, and there was no indicator on the grass or anything around me to indicate what it was actually doing. So shooting that tighter group is just marvelous. So staying in the 16 grain category, let's go over to the Terminators and see how they fare at 50 meters. The Terminators fared a lot better than I actually expected. At 50 meters, round about an inch and a half grouping, with that gusting wind, that is really acceptable. 16.2 or 16.36 grains, they came out of the gun slightly slower than the Olympias. At 15.89 grain, 906, I don't think if this is the optimal speed for these Terminators yet. It would be interesting to see if I reduce the speed a little bit, what the Terminators is going to do. But that's not too shabby. Alright, time to move on. So, let's rumble with the Polymags.
I've shot the Polymags before in the first original video, but what I did in the first original video is that I had the single load tray inserted. I did not use the magazines, but the single load, very easy to install, single loader, and it's installed, not a problem. That's why I did not have the magazine inserted. But now comes the trouble with the magazine. Now this is an awesome little magazine, a bit tricky to get the first pellet in, but once the first pellet is in, everything is smooth sailing. The challenge with this is that the Polymag, yeah, the oranje tip one, long one, does not fit into the mag. So right into the section I realized, but can't get the mag in, I have to single load again. So what did I do? I single loaded. It's as simple as that. Let's have some fun with the Polymags.
I don't know if it's because of the pallet being longer or that plastic orange tip in the front, but it looked like the wind affected the Polymags a lot more than the Terminators. Right after this I'm going to shoot the Hornets with the steel tip to see if I can see the same variance there. Groupings just over an inch at 50 meters, might not be what you want, but still not too shabby. I don't think I'll be doing long range pest control with the Polymags, but up to 30 meters these things will certainly kick like an old mule.
Now this gun is made for dirty work. It's there, it's light, easy to carry around, and what's quite nice about it is that your Picatinny rail actually provides a nice handle for carrying the gun. Doesn't change your point of impact, you don't have to touch the scope. I've seen guys carrying their gun by the scope, which is a big no-no in my book. So for me, having a nice little handle underneath the scope to carry your gun quickly or to grab it or move it around, that is a nice little added plus. I don't know if that was built like that on purpose, but it's a nice add-on. I like it. Another small little feature is this little magazine. In the bottom, you've got a nice storage space for your magazine that you just clip in there and don't worry about it falling out. You're 100% ready to go. It's got space for 2 magazines, which is quite nifty. Unfortunately, the gun only ships with a single magazine in that regard.
Time for the H&N Hornets, also in 16 grain. Now that point looks like copper, but it is sharp as nails. You can actually cut yourself if you're not safe, so adult warning in that regard. Let's go and have some fun with it. I think this will be a real good test against the Polymag. Same weight, same dimensions, and built for penetration. The H&N Hornets were marginally better than the Polymags, but they were still better. They're a little bit pricey in the market, but I think with that solid hard point, they built more for penetration than expansion, and you can literally try and shoot this thing through anything. At 50 meters again, not too bad, although I had 1 or 2 way out ones, but on 30 meters out of the Behemoth, the Nova Vista, the Air Venturi, whatever you want to call it, a cracking little pellet, and the gun is not fussy about shooting them, and they fit easily into the magazine. So that's a big up versus the Polymags.
Now that wasn't too bad. A little bit more about the gun. As you can see, the cocking lever is all the way in the back. Now for me, that has big hands, for me it's easy to just hook my thumb in the back like this, grab hold of the cocking lever, open and close. For the guys with smaller hands, you might struggle a bit more. I would have preferred the cocking lever to be right at the trigger itself, that you can cock there without shifting away from your shoulder. So for me, every time I need to cock, I need to actually grab it, cock it, close it, and then back. So every time you do that, you actually change your point of impact and you have to realign the gun a little bit. So that's one of the little negatives about the gun. But the moment you get used to it, it's actually quite fun and quite easy. Nice, easy to shoulder, cock, back, and go. So it can be done without letting go of the gun, but I would have preferred a cocking lever slightly to the front.
Up next, we have the trusty old JSB Diablos, but this time a little bit heavier. These are the 18.13 grain, and I actually do have high expectations out of this. Initially, I wanted to shoot them at 840 feet per second. The average was going out at about 868, with a standard deviation of only 3.5. So let's have a squeeze and see what these little bit heavier babies can do out of the Behemoth. Oh my greatness, this gun absolutely loves the JSBs. That first shot on target number 1, that was after I refilled the regulator, so I discounted that. The rest of the grouping under an inch and even as small as a half an inch at 50 meters. I've been battling to get this type of groupings with my FX, with all due respect. At 50 meters, half an inch groupings, JSBs 18.13 grain, at 868 feet per second, 60 shots on a fill. I think this might be a winner for this gun. One more to go, then I'm done.
If there's one thing that bugged me from the gun, from the word go, is the trigger. So I'm used to guns that cost 30, 40, 50,000 Rand, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for the Americans out there. This at $450, obviously you can't expect a match grade trigger. But what I did realize is that this little trigger is easily adjustable. Again, it's got 2 screws in here for the first stage and the second stage pull, and you can actually make it quite a bit lighter and have some fun with it. So it is adjustable, but it's not as crisp as the high-end guns. Having said that, the moment you get used to it, not a problem. For a first-time PCP, or if you want a field horse that can work in rough terrain, that you're not worried about too much, you're not worried about bumping your $3,000 gun at the end of the day, I think this is a nice little fit. That's enough of that. Let's get back to the shooting.
The last pellet for today is the Baracuda 18s. Now these are the new Baracuda 18s, also at 18.13 grain, and I do expect them to group very, very well. If I look at the average speed, slightly slower than the JSBs, but by 4 feet per second. Standard deviation only 2.6, so that is some awesomeness again from the gun. Lekker consistent. Up front, I apologize to H&N. I didn't look at all the pellets before the time, and there was a few bent skirts in this, but even with bent skirts, I shot 1-inch groupings at 50 meters in gusting wind. Totally acceptable. The last 4 shots, I actually looked for pellets that was perfectly shaped, and only the wind pushed me around. The height was quite consistent. So H&N, sorry, that's the only tin I currently have with me, and there's a lot of bent skirts in there, but still, 1-inch groupings at 50 meters with bent skirts. Well done, H&N.
Right guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing the channel as well. I'll be doing some more testing with the Behemoth. I think that I can make it even more air efficient, and I think I can still get those groups a little bit better. So next experiment for me is I'm going to drop the regulator a little bit further, maybe down to 115, 120 bar plus minus. Then I'm going to do fine adjustments with the hammer spring to make sure that the sound out of this gun is sweet and crisp. I don't like anything that goes ka-twang, ka-twang in your ears, because the mechanism is right next to your ear. You're going to pick it up immediately. So for the next exercise I'm going to do, get the hammer spring adjusted, get the regulator down a little bit, get that power down. I want to shoot the 16 grainers at 890 to 900 feet per second maximum, and I want the 18 grainers at around about 840 feet per second. So I'm going to fiddle with the gun a little bit more, and next time when you see me, I'll have the results on that one. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking and subscribing. Keep up the good work.
That's all, folks.